Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Pod My Noggin. And this is the second episode of my podcast. And as I said in my previous one, we have my first interview guest today. So let's jump over and meet Jenn Lord. Hello, Jenn. How are you?
I'm great. A little nervous.
Well, you
Not
know
gonna
what?
lie. Yeah.
Me too. I did my first recording last week. I put it out there. I had to talk myself off the ledge, like when I was going to record. And I'm like, you know
Yeah.
what? You just have to record it right now. You're not editing. You're not putting it out. Like just one step at a
Just
time.
record. Yeah, for
Uh,
sure. I totally understand that.
and I mentioned you. Well, I mentioned I had my first interview guest in my last podcast episode, and that I was over the moon excited, and that you had informed me that you two have not done a podcast before. So
I actually have.
you
It's
have.
just
Okay.
yeah, I have, but it was like I was running it for like a brand.
You were running it. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I
So
was
you
never
weren't
in
the
the
guest.
hot seat. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
fair. Okay, this is fair. So you're a little bit
Yeah.
nervous. I'm a little bit nervous, but like I said last week, we'll get through it together. Um, so I have some questions, and why don't we start off with like, who's Jenn? Tell us about Jenn.
That is a really good question and a really hard one for me to answer.
Okay.
So yeah, I would say like to encapsulate me, I am a goofball that is very athletic
Okay.
and I love learning. I never want to stop learning in my entire life. Like if you give me anything, I will put my mind to it. Like if I'm interested in it, I will
Yes.
dive head first into it and I will be like in a dark hole for like months until I learn how to do that thing.
So I have to ask you a
Pus-
question, a follow-up
oh
question.
yeah.
What's your
Yeah.
what's your sign?
I'm a Leo.
A Leo. Okay, I'm a Cancer.
Yeah.
Because
I'm
our personalities are the
also
same.
oh, okay, yeah. I'm
I'm
also
the same
very
person.
fiery.
Yep.
Like I
Fair.
am a spark of fire.
Mm-hmm.
I've had like when I was younger, I used to have a t-shirt that was the Tasmanian devil on it.
Okay.
And they
Yeah.
used to my nickname when I was younger was Taz cuz like I was a Tasmanian devil like ripping through the house. And
That's fair. Yeah.
when my brother was younger, I used to like climb onto his back, grab his hair, and do it like a bomb drop to bring him to the ground. Like that's how much of a hellion I was.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's where the Leo comes in. But yeah, I love sports. I love the camera ever since I was 10 years old. I saved like birthday money and like some chore money to get my first camera. And I would not put that thing down. I remember my parents getting so mad at me. They're like, quit shoving that thing in our face.
Mhm.
It was all the time. And ever since then, like I haven't put down a camera. Like it's one of my biggest passions of my life.
And I love that, and I think that that really shows as well in your work.
Mm, thank you.
So I wanted to thank you first off for being my first ever guest on my podcast, and
Yeah.
nervous. We're all nervous, but it for me. This is like a new thing, putting myself out there, deciding not to live in fear.
Yeah.
And one of the things is I've lived in fear for so long, so the fear's still there. It's just I'm stepping out from behind it and doing stuff that fills my cup, like pouring into myself. So one of the things, and I haven't figured out how we're going to do this yet, but for people who are listening, you can go to at Jenn JENNLORD _ at Instagram. And you can scroll through her post and you're looking for where she's sitting on a chair in the water. So this popped up on my feed and I watched it. I probably I think 5 times. Because there was something about you that sort of jumped through the phone and just resonated with me. And there was a couple things that you said that really drew me in. So the talk about you doubting yourself, and then the experiences that you had
Yeah.
with other people on your way up there, and even when you're in the water to do this photo, but your
Yeah.
commitment to make it happen, and like getting outside of your head and not getting in your way. Talk to me about that. And for anybody who hasn't seen it, go see it. If I can figure out how to put it in this podcast, I will. But it's very visual, and it's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you so
And it's
much.
called Elegantly Drowning. Is
Yes.
the end photographs are called Elegantly Drowning, and it's absolutely beautiful. But talk to us about that. What was
Yeah.
the
So the original idea for this popped into my head like a year earlier. And like
okay?
how I wanted it to look was nothing how it ended up coming out. Like nothing. Like the chair, yes, that was still the same thing, and like the first pose was still the same thing, but I originally pictured me sitting at that lake with the chair facing backwards and like trying to capture struggle, but I wanted there to be fog around. I wanted me to be wearing
Mm-hmm.
baggy ripped jeans. I wanted to be wearing like a white tank top that was a little bit loose. And for like literally the whole year, I was searching for the perfect chair. I was searching for the perfect outfit. And I was like, I couldn't find it anywhere. I was going to thrift stores and couldn't find anything. And then finally, one day, me and my partner, we went down to the States and we stopped in at a thrift store and we saw this one chair in, I think it was like Bellingham or something like that, because I'm from Vancouver, Canada. And we found this chair there and I was like, this thing is perfect, and it was $4.99, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. So we ended up putting the chair in the back of our camper van and we drove back up to Canada. So I was like, okay, I got one thing out of the things I need. And so then the next thing was the outfit. So then the outfit, I was like, if I don't have this outfit, it's not going to turn out exactly how I want it to be. And that held me back for probably another like 6 months from doing this photo. And then finally one day I was just like, screw it. It's not supposed to be perfect. It's not meant to be perfect. Like, let's just go do it. I really want to capture this photo. And so on my way up, I was feeling like kind of fiery and confident with that mindset, being like, get out of your way, Jen. And then as I kept driving, I was like, oh, you're gonna look like, I really hope no one is at the park today, because it's gonna be so weird. Like, you're bringing a chair into the water and like you're going to be taking a photo of yourself with no one else around. So I'm like setting up the camera by myself. I'm putting the chair in the water by myself. I have to change my clothes. So, and there's no like changing hut. So I'm literally hiding behind a tree and a bush to change. And so like my plan was to walk around to the other side of the lake where usually people are like there's no one there, because you have to cross over a dam area where you're not supposed to cross over, but I did it anyways.
There.
And yeah, so on my way up I was just like started thinking about all the nuances and the details of having to get like the things that I need to do to accomplish this photo. And as I started thinking about it, like that doubt started creeping in, and I was like, I don't know if this is a good idea or not. Like, I was like, I wonder if someone's gonna call like the park ranger, be like, she's crossing over to the wrong side, or if someone's gonna be like, there's a girl walking into the lake with a chair, like she probably needs help. And I was like, oh, there's gonna be so many like thoughts and stuff like that. And then as I was thinking those thoughts, someone on a motorcycle was driving past me the other way and then just fingered me for no reason. I don't know. It was like maybe like my headlights over the speed bump looked like it was flashing him or something. I don't know what it was. And when I saw that, I was like, is that a sign from the universe? Are they trying to tell me something? And so I was like, okay, like maybe it was just like that person was having a bad day, or maybe they feel like spicy or something. I don't know. And so I was like, let's just put that thought on the back burner and let's keep going. And as I drove in and I parked, there were so many cars there. So many. And I was like, no, this is going to be so awkward. So I literally tried to go through the bush to get to the other side of the the other side of the lake at first, but there was a fence that was cutting you off from going that way. And so I had to come back through the bush with the chair and my camera gear, and I'm like lugging it through the bush, trying to avoid people at all costs. And then I realized I couldn't hide from anyone, and I had to face everyone. So I was like walking along the beach, and it literally felt like I was just trudging along in shame the whole way over. I was just like, people are going to look at me and be like, oh, she's doing this for Instagram, and she's wants to be like a wannabe famous person, like yada yada yada. And I was like, no, I just want to do a photo. So I started coming up with like different things in my head to say if someone were to ask me what I was doing. And I was going to be like, the one thing I wanted to say was like, I'm an art student and this is my art project. Like, I didn't want to tell them the truth. But no one ended up asking me. Everyone just kind of stared at me, which I felt was, it felt really, really, really uncomfortable, because I was like, I know you're looking at me and I'm trying to be vulnerable, and it's really hard to do that when you know you have eyes from all over. And then once I got my chair into the water and I kind of got used to people looking at me, I was like, okay, we'll wait for this one group. There's a group of guys walking along the beach to go back over to the other side. And I was like, I'll wait for them to walk by and then we can start. Like, the people on the other side of the beach can watch me all they want. I'm okay with that. But anyone on this side, like, I don't want anyone on the side that I'm on. And then so I waited for them to cross. They were watching me. Yeah. And like, once they crossed, they were looking at me the whole time, and I was just like standing there like, I'm just gonna pretend I'm taking photos of a chair. That's all I was doing. And then I started taking photos, got into my poses, like got changed, got into my poses, and literally as soon as I started doing the self-portrait, these two guys came from the bush on the side I was on, walked straight down the beach to where I was, looked at me dead in the eyes, and I was like, oh God, what's gonna happen? I felt so scared. Like, so scared. I was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you coming straight for me? And then they stopped and stared at me, and then walked a little bit past me, turned around, looked back, and they were just like, that is so stupid. I can't believe she's doing that. And then they kept walking, but walking backwards, staring at me until they got over to where the dam was. And then they started throwing like rocks and stuff like that at a metal thing. And I was like, yeah, are they trying to scare me? Because it's working. And so like after that happened, I felt so like defeated almost. And that's where the second photo came into inspiration, because I literally turned around on the chair and I was like, whoa, like what just happened? And in that moment, I was like, oh, I should capture this feeling, even though, like, I really don't want to. Like, you're capturing you feeling defeated. That's not something you want to show the world. But I was like, I know so many other people feel this as well. And so that's how that photo came about. And then I was like, the sun had came out after I finished those two first photos. And when the sun came out and I was looking at the chair, I was like, wow, like what a beautiful picture this is. And I was like, it could go, like, I can leave it up for people's interpretation as to how they want to view the third photo. Like, it could be viewed as like, you've made it out of the darkness and you, like, the light has come out and the water is still now and, like, everything's clearer again. Or you could view it as like you didn't make it through and you're finally resting in peace. So it was like, it was a really tough one to make, but I almost feel like it was harder to post than it was to make it.
Okay, I want to talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
So first off, thank you for your like following through with your vulnerability and recording that messaging.
Thanks.
Because you're so
Thanks.
right though. The world needs to see these things. When you look at something on Instagram, you see the finished product.
Yeah.
And with any artist prior to social media, you would often see the finished product. And what gets lost there is that journey to the finished product, right? And I find that that just adds such a level of value to the finished product that
Yeah.
is priceless, right? And so for
Yeah.
you to tell me that, this was a vision that you had for like a year and then you wanted perfection, you didn't get your fog, but you figured out your outfit in the end, which looked great, by the way. It
Oh,
looked
thank
great. It was
you.
very elegant. You were well dressed. Like I thought it
Yeah.
looked so perfect. The
Hmm.
chair story is fantastic, right? All of the things that you went through just getting there and after you arrived at the park and the experiences and these two dudes that are
Yeah.
making you feel uncomfortable, which you have a
Yeah.
right to be uncomfortable. You're at in a beach.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I'm
I
doing
think
something weird
that,
at a beach. Yeah.
but here's the thing. They said that that's so stupid, right? But yet they couldn't
Yeah.
take their eyes off you.
I
They were
know. Hey,
watching,
that's such a good point. Yeah.
right? They are walking backwards and they're watching you. So it's stupid to them, but there's something about you that they're completely gravitated towards.
Oh
And
my goodness.
I typically find that people are realizing that there's something missing in them in that moment. There's something that they're seeing in you that captivates them. And yeah,
I
they think it's
never
stupid
thought
because
of
it's
it
cold
that
outside
way.
and you're in the water with a chair. But what's that girl's story? How did she
Yeah.
get here? Like, there's so many levels, right? And I don't know how
Yeah.
far they were when they were throwing the rocks, but maybe they wanted to look busy
Yeah.
so they could still like watch what's going on because they're so fascinated by this girl in the water fully dressed on a chair with a camera, right? So like I wonder really what it was that they saw that day and how it
I'm so
moved them.
curious too. Yeah,
It's
I'm very
it
curious, but I
yeah.
never thought of it that way. Like, thank you for reframing it that way. That's very helpful.
I always feel, as for me personally, that there's at least two sides to every coin, right? There's
Hmm.
way more than that. People are so complex. There's no one definition for anything. I remember seeing a post yesterday, and it was this indigenous dude in Washington who had on a Redskins jersey, but it wasn't a Redskins jersey. It was a replica of the Redskins jersey. Okay, before they changed it,
Okay.
and it was a white dude and it said Caucasian on top. And there was this woman who was like losing her mind at him in the street.
Yeah.
And my automatic go-to is like, okay, that's not okay. There's no, I don't condone that kind of behavior or whatever. But my mind thinks of what in life has brought you here that this man wearing this shirt elicits such a strong, hateful reaction.
Yeah.
Where this woman becomes undone, really, in public. So I'm interested in the human journey, right?
Yeah.
Because we all have one, and that's what
Hmm.
drew me to you. The peace, the vulnerability, and you said in there. I wrote it down. It's on up here. Sorry. So
No, you're all good.
you mentioned that doing this reel healed a part of little Jen, and so
Yeah.
that resonated again. There's so many pieces of this reel that really resonated with me. Um,
Yeah.
and can we talk about that for a quick second?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, for sure. Like, are you asking like how did it heal little Jen?
yeah, like what about it really? went back into yourself and
Yeah.
healed a little part of little Jen?
I think because, like, I've always had, like, these ideas in my head that I want to, um, execute on, and, like, every time I would go to do it, even when I was younger, I would feel really stupid almost, like, just, like, and it would stop me from creating things. And then, um, I often felt very embarrassed about who I was when I was younger too, and so, like, every moment of embarrassment that I felt, and yet I still decided to keep going through. It was kind of like I was bringing little Jen, being like her big sister, being like, "Hey, it's okay. Like this is what's gonna happen, but we're gonna keep doing this because we love this. We love doing this." And so, like, that's the only reason we need to carry forward.
So you were
And
scared, but you did it anyway.
yes, yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know how old you are now, and you don't have to share that with me if you don't want to. I'm guessing somewhere in the 25 range.
Oh,
That's where I'm
pretty good
guessing.
guess. I'm
So,
26.
26, perfect. So,
Hmm.
that is a that's a brilliance that I wish I had. And what confounds me even further is
Yeah.
that I had the capability of, even back then, like, because I'm 42, so
Okay.
much older, but in my 20s, to live more truly, more freely, because there was no social media, right? It was only
Right.
who was around you that could sort of impact you or give you a hard time or anything like that. And if you
Mhm.
weren't thriving in one community, you could pick up and move to another and try again. So I find it very inspiring, and it's people like you who are changing the world, because you're scared but you're doing it anyway, and you're showing that vulnerability on platforms that little kids, adults who are 42 years old and older, are seeing and are being moved by. And it goes back to my favorite quote, which I'm not going to try and quote right now because I'm nervous still.
Yeah, yeah.
But Nelson
Me
Mandela
too.
did it in his 1994
Yeah.
inauguration speech. Um, and the quote is, there's a part in the quote, when we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same.
Right,
And
yes.
it was also in Aquila and the Bee, which I'm not
Mm.
sure if you knew that movie, but I love that movie.
No.
And
No.
it was written by Marian Christensen, which that part's often lost. It's usually mostly
Oh.
affiliated to Nelson Mandela. It was a great
Right.
quote, and I think by you living in your true self, like, you're not only helping yourself, and you're pushing yourself continuously to do better, to be better, to take your ideas and make them come true.
Yeah.
You're helping so many people that you don't know about, just by
Yeah.
existing, just by doing what you're doing,
I know,
right?
it's so cool. And, like,
It is
people
cool.
have
It's
been
totally cool.
oh, yeah, and, like, people have been reaching out and, like, sharing just little snippets of their life with me from that
Mhm.
post, and it has been so cool because 'cause I've gotten to see into so many people's lives. Like, of course, it's only just like a sliver of their lives, but it's I just love stories. Like, I think like how you're like you love the human journey. It's just so cool to listen to how similar we all are, how different we all are, and like just like the little nuances and be like, wow, like I can totally understand how that would be so hard. Or like, I don't understand you at all, but thank you for sharing. Like those type of things. Like I love every little bit of humanity that does that. Oh,
Well, and I think I love that about you, because I too love humanity.
yeah.
While there's lots of darkness that exists today, right? There's always been darkness,
Mhm.
but it seems to be
Yeah.
amplified right now. A lot of divisive politics and all of that sort of thing. Everyone feels, everyone's a human. It makes no difference what you're
Mhm.
saying, what you're doing. We're all alike in the fact that we're all human. So
Yes.
there's fewer things that set us apart
Yeah.
than there are that we're similar in, right? And
Yes.
I think it's
Yeah.
basically choices that we make in life.
Yes.
Unlike you, I spoke about this in my last podcast. I wrote a book when I was 27, in
What's it called?
2008. Well, it's called Life in Stitches. And
Oh,
it's just, to me,
fun.
it's a silly little book that I wrote about a young girl from Newfoundland, because that's where I'm from. So we're coast to coast.
Oh,
I don't live there now. I
nice.
live in Montreal, but,
Oh, okay.
and it's a story about a girl from Newfoundland, and she's always had this big dream of going to New York City and owning the fashion runways. Like, this was her only
Oh,
dream. So the book sort of like reads like a movie in a sense, because that's how things play out in my head. Like when I'm doing anything, if I'm reading a book, there's a movie reel going in my head. So
right.
it reads like a movie. It's funny, it's cute. It's not some amazing work of literary fiction by no means. I am a storyteller. I'm not what I would consider a writer, if you will. And
Okay.
I played around with the book in 2008. I finished it in 2013. I got some nerve, and I sort of released it a little bit, but in
Nice.
ebook format. And I was like,
Yeah.
no, I'm going to pull that back, going to pull that back. Um,
Mm.
and then, I'm submitting the final documents today. It's going to come out March 30th, 2024. And so,
No way.
yeah, it's one of those things, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. It's gonna go out, and
Yeah.
if it flops, it flops. It doesn't matter. I enjoyed writing the process. I really enjoyed revisiting 27-year-old Curtis. I
Right.
just use my real name, which it doesn't really matter. That version of me who was too afraid to do
Yeah.
anything with it. And
Yes.
one of the things that I love the most is I saw something on Instagram, and the algorithm, for the most part, has me figured out. It's going to send me things that are uplifting,
Hmm.
um, inspirational. Like, it knows what I want. And I find
Yeah.
often if I go onto Instagram and I'm feeling low, I will read or see posts that just pick me right up.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
One of the posts I saw in 2023 was, we are currently the people that we needed as children to feel safe.
Yes.
And that hit me
Yes.
hard, because I'm like, wait a second. I am that person. I'm loving, I'm kind, I'm accepting, I
Yeah.
am tolerant, I will build you up, I will totally endorse and encourage your wildest dreams. I'll take part in making them happen. You know what I mean? Like, that is
Yeah.
who I
Yeah.
am as a person. So that is who I needed as a child. And I didn't have it,
Hmm.
and that's fine, because most people don't. They just don't have
Yeah.
that when they're a child.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm maybe I got a little off track, but that's okay. I'm not, scripted. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I
Yeah. Can I
lost my
ask you a
point.
question?
Yes, you can.
I was like, what was the voice saying when you pulled the ebook back?
It was just like, it didn't sell a million copies the day one, and I'm like, oh my god, this is awful. People don't want to read this. Like,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
crazy weird things.
Yeah.
But then also, I use the it's not moving sort of thing
Hmm.
to sort of mask, because it wasn't really the fact that it wasn't moving. Because I'm
Right.
the type of person, if one person read it and enjoyed it, worth every single bit
Who
of effort,
cares? Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think 27-year-old Curtis hadn't cultivated that out and allowed that part of him to come to the surface fully. So
Yeah.
he used that as a mask, and then, it was just the fear, like, what if somebody, sees it and they read it and they think it's garbage, right?
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden I'm known as this garbage person. and all of the intrusive thoughts, different ones, but like just as you experienced that day when you were going to take that photo and every step you took into getting that photo, and even when you
Yeah.
were taking the photo and then after the photo, when you were scared to post it, we're going to talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
All of those things were happening, and
Mm-hmm.
it was but that's existed my entire life, this high level of insecurity, this high level of fear to be my
Mm-hmm.
authentic self, because I used to believe I'm not good enough,
Yeah.
straight up. And then
That's
for
the
me,
same voice I have too.
but what's interesting is that you are combating it in real time, which is just absolutely wonderful and an incredible skill that I want everybody to learn. Because for me, I
Yeah.
think what has happened, and you hear this all the time, as you get older,
Yeah.
you have less fucks to give and you just want to fill your cup. I apologize for
Yeah.
swearing. This is not a
No,
child
no.
program, but yeah, but like it's, I just, you know what I mean? Like I've put the big catalyst was this past year is that I was with an organization for 5 years. I gave them 150, 200%
Mm-hmm.
constantly, and the value wasn't coming back. And there was resentment. And I started to think to myself, what would happen if I put the same level of effort and energy into myself
Yes.
that I gave practically so freely above and beyond to this
Yes.
organization. And so I
Yes.
started to write my blog again. I picked up this book and I started writing again. So it was a path. And then November 29th, they packaged me out. So like a part of me feels like the universe was saying, "Okay, here's this big block that's kind of in your way. We're going to move that so you can really explore
Nice.
this part of your life." So
What
I'm here
a
for it.
blessing. Yeah.
It is a blessing, you know. I'm here for it. I'm terrified still, like that's
Yes.
terrified.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
to Jesus is where I'm terrified. But you know what? I'm just going to do it because what is the best that can happen?
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
back to your posting. You talked about you found it even more difficult or more challenging to
Yeah.
post this. So I want to
Yeah.
know about that.
Yeah. So, um, after I got back, I started editing it like right away because I was like pretty, like, I don't know, I just felt super expansive. Once I got back into the safety of my van, I felt super expansive. I was like, whoa, that was such a rush. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I went through with that. And then I got back and I was like, I want to start editing this right away. And as I was editing it, I was like, oh man, we see like all sides of Jen in this video. And I was like, oh, I don't show like, okay, so I do try to show every single side of myself to everyone that I meet, but there's some aspects of my life where I like to protect my energy and like keep myself safe still. Like there's still spaces in my life that I don't feel totally safe. And I think that's okay. Maybe one day we'll show every piece of Jen to everyone. Who knows? I don't know if that's the right choice or not, but we'll find out.
In your perfect
And
timing.
yeah, exactly. And then once I finished it, I showed it to my partner and I was like, what do you think? And she loved it. She was all over it. She loved every bit of it. And I was like, okay, it's a good sign because she is in my corner and she will tell me if she thinks something needs to be improved somewhere. And like when she said she loved it, I was like, okay, we should post this. I was like, I really want to do like dive more into my artistic side of my life and share my ideas with the world because I think like some of the ideas that I have can touch a lot of people and help heal a lot of people, and that's my ultimate goal. Um, and the scariest part was posting it and having the people I know close to me see it.
Yep.
That I was like, my parents are gonna see it. My cousins are gonna see it. My some of my past teachers will see it. Some of the friends that I had in high school, we still follow each other, and like all these different people that are kind of in my circle still are all gonna see it. And I was like, I don't know if I want to show them that side of me. Like opening up like opening up to vulnerability with the people that are close to you is so freaking hard. It is so hard. I was worried that they were gonna like call me up and be like, Jen, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And like, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, so scared of that conversation, which I ended up having with, I think it was my mother. Yeah, my mother. And like, yeah, the conversation felt a little awkward, but I was like, it wasn't as bad as what I built it up in my head.
Usually never is.
It usually never is. Yeah. And so like once we had that conversation, I was like, yeah, no, I'm fine. It's just like a piece of art that I really wanted to create because it's been in my mind. And like I feel emotions very, very deeply and strongly. And I feel like a little ball of energy and like it's very sparky and stuff like that. And so when I feel things, they just come through as like almost very dramatic. They come through very, very strong. And so I guess like sometimes you can like a lot of people in my family aren't super comfortable opening up very, very deep. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what I was most scared about. Because like as soon as you go down that deep hole of vulnerability, a lot of people will look at you and be like, are you okay? Like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, there's nothing wrong. We should actually be talking about this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think for it's interesting because I feel like we're very similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe kind of like twin flames from
Yeah.
opposite coasts.
Yeah.
But when you were talking about like how you are okay with being vulnerable, but there's elements of your life that you're not okay with being vulnerable with. And I always
Mm-hmm.
view that as reserved vulnerability.
Yeah.
And I'll explain this. So, my journey with vulnerability started when I was 35. And I
Okay.
you can watch my podcast from last week and you'll learn
Yeah.
how,
Yeah. Yeah.
how that journey happened. But that time in my life made me realize that we need to speak up more and we need to talk more. But there were certain elements of my life that were sacred to me. So there was this weird part of me for a while that felt like I was being phony because I was
Right.
being
Yeah.
vulnerable, but I wasn't actually like giving it all. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember having a session with my therapist, which I've had a therapist for like a long time. Therapist
Same.
is great.
Same.
I promote therapy. If you don't have one, get one. They're going to help change your
Yes.
life.
Yeah.
Um, and she said that you don't owe anybody anything. So any piece of you that you choose to share is a gift to that person if they want to receive it. And it helped me
Mm.
reframe the fact that it's okay to actually hold parts of you sacred that you don't want to open up to the world.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and, I have two best friends. I'm very lucky. I have two best friends who are like my ride or dies, and they know absolutely everything, every deep, dark secret, the whole world, like everything I've ever done. They know it. They have seen
Mm-hmm.
it all, but there are
Yeah.
many who have not. And
Right.
it's, I think that that's okay. I think that just being vulnerable, uh, even to say like on a surface level or a little bit below surface level, is more than what most people are ever comfortable with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's talking about mental health and sharing your story. And I'm so glad that your partner is in your corner and
Oh.
convinced you and gave you permission, I guess, because you kind of
Yeah.
needed that
Yeah.
extra nudge to put it out there.
Oh,
I'm so
yes.
glad that you did. And like I said, I'm no big deal or anything. This is a new podcast to me, but it's interesting how when we struggle with stuff and we finally do it, that people take notice. And like,
Yeah.
I don't know how long you posted it before I saw it. I reached out to you,
Yeah.
but I was like immediately drawn, and I just said, I want to talk to this person. I want to
Oh,
like blow them up. Like not that's let's be clear. Blow them up as in like I want every person in the world to see and hear their work, and that's who I am. You know, if I see something
thank
that I think
you.
is fantastic, I want to share it because
Yeah.
that post helped me. How many other people can it help? Right.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
thank you. You're making me
um,
blush and have warm, fuzzy feelings.
well, that's good because I think you need to give people their flowers,
Yeah.
especially if you're telling the world that you went through all this struggle and this was this journey, but you, in the end, you did it. Why
Yeah.
shouldn't you get your flowers?
Yeah,
Right?
totally. Like that is something I'm working on. There's like I've been working through like there's like been working on my triggers for a long time, but just recently one of my friends like introduced glimmers and she was like glimmers are the things you need to celebrate in your life. Like you have to allow yourself to celebrate and like enjoy bits of your life. And that's what glimmers are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love
Yeah.
glimmers. Um,
Yeah.
I get a lot of glimmers, but just from normal,
It could be
um,
small things.
it's the
Like
tiniest
feeling the sun on
things.
your face. Yeah.
Watching my cat like sleep in her heated bed. Like it literally
Yes.
just makes me smile ear to ear because she's so peaceful and feels safe in this home that I've created
Yes.
for her. Like these are things that I
Yes.
celebrate because it's gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Gratitude is life changing. Changed
It
my
really
life,
is.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so let's take a look here. So I feel like we've covered, you know, the questions that I had for you. I
Oh,
did make
nice.
some notes though, because I
Okay.
wanted to do my homework. So, love the fact that you are hardcore. For anybody who doesn't know, you will know. Um, Potterhead.
Yes. Big time. Big
And
time.
you can check out her website if you go to at JENNLORD_. Click her link in bio and it will bring you to her website. And it's fantastic. She loves the magical wizarding world of Harry Potter. I
Oh,
love that. Love it.
it is literally like I would say like that is 50% of what my soul is. Is Harry Potter.
But I love it. I love Harry Potter as well. Like I find
Yeah.
getting lost in a Harry Potter book or a movie to be just a fantastic way to pass time.
Yeah. It is my
Um,
ultimate comfort is Harry Potter.
I love this. I love this.
Yeah.
Now, you say that you're from the East Coast. Or sorry, let me take that back. I'm
West
from the
Coast.
East Coast. You're from the West Coast, Vancouver,
Yeah.
which is a beautiful city. But
Mm-hmm.
I detect, because I've gone through and hearted a lot of your stuff and watched your stuff before this interview today. I
Yeah, okay.
detect a Southern accent. Where does this come from? Now, here's the thing. It's not just in your because you're vulnerable and you said you were a big goofball at the beginning of our interview, and which I will have
Yes.
to concur to anybody who's going to go look. I love the animations that you make, your voice changing. I love all of that. It just adds so many
Yeah.
layers and it's great.
Yeah.
It's really wonderful to watch. But even when you're just talking at your normal sort of cadence, I
Yeah.
detect some southernness in your accent. What's that about?
Yeah. No idea whatsoever. Have no clue. I only recently found out that some people think I have a like southern now it's starting to come out. The twang is coming out. That I have like a southern accent to my voice. When I was traveling in the States, I can't remember where I was. I think it was in like Idaho or something like that for work. And this guy stopped me. He's like, "Where are you from, miss?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm from Vancouver, Canada." And he's like, "Where are you originally from?" And I was like, "Vancouver, Canada." And I was like, "Where do you think I'm from?" And then he was like, "Well, you have like a southern, sometimes it seems like almost like Boston, New York. I don't know what it is." He's like, "You got just like a different accent than a
I
Canadian
go a little
accent."
bit lower than that. Not the
Yeah,
whole way
yeah, yeah.
south, but I go just a little bit lower than that
Yeah,
because,
yeah, yeah.
but it's such a, it's not crazy predominant in every
Yeah.
word that you use or syllable, but it's some of the syllables that you use in specific words that are, they
I
just
have
have that southernness to it. It's very
I have
eloquent.
no oh, thank you. I have no idea where it came from. Like, one of
Well,
my boss actually thinks it came from, watching Hannah Montana when I was younger. Like, she's like, "Maybe that's where it's from." And I was like,
you know what? It could actually be. I mean, we're so
Right?
susceptible to stuff when we're growing up that if you hear somebody
Yeah.
with a southern accent, that's how we formulate speech. So maybe that's what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
The sitting with the shadows. So I want to talk about that one real quick
Mhm.
for anybody who's listening. While you're over at Jen's page, you have to check out Sitting with the Shadows because also really powerful. And I remember when I watched it, I teared up because of
Mm.
the narrative, the photographs that you shared in it, and then the end result. And
Mhm.
I just thought that was really raw as well. And I
Yeah.
know that it stems somewhat from Elegantly Drowning, like the idea was a
Mhm.
build on it, but
Mhm.
absolutely incredible. So if you don't follow Jenn Lord right now, you need to follow her, and she's going to continue putting out incredible photographs. And
I
yeah,
have
you just
lots of
have to. Like,
ideas.
and we want to see these ideas. That's what we want to
Yeah.
see. We want to be
Yeah.
moved by your work. I'm just going over my notes real quick.
Mhm.
Um,
There is actually a photo that I have already that I created, and I created it back in June, but it is such a vulnerable photo that I am not ready, and I don't know if I'll ever post it to the internet, but one of my biggest goals is to do like a gallery, and I
mhm.
think I would have it up in the gallery, but I think it's like it might only ever be like a gallery photo. Like, I don't know if I'll ever post it.
So intrigued now.
Yeah,
I'm
right. I'll send it
not
to
going
you.
to. I'm not going to
I'll
apply any
send it to
pressure
you.
because, which I appreciate, I will not share with anyone. But
Yeah, yeah.
I think that that is the other. What we were just talking about this, like keeping certain things sacred just for you, right? So
Mhm.
what you put it up in a gallery, that's fine. You have control over who comes and sees and that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's, I think you can make art and it still holds its value, and that journey and that feeling that you got when you were creating it, even if you keep it
Mhm.
just for yourself,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
um
Mhm.
Not sure if you're aware that your energy is super contagious.
Oh, thanks.
Are you aware that it's super
Thanks.
contagious?
I mean, I've had people have told me that I'm kinda like a Labrador puppy. And I was
Okay,
like,
interesting. That's
yeah.
fair, a Labrador puppy, but I get it, like the bounciness, excitedness,
Yeah,
that sort of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
So any questions for me while you have me
Yeah.
online?
What inspired your podcast?
Good question. As we spoke about earlier, 2024, I wanted it to be about stepping out. I'm very careful about how I say this. So stepping out from behind fear, because I don't want to give
Mhm.
the intention or give the messaging that the fear doesn't exist anymore, right?
Oh, the fear is
Because the fear
always
is
there.
fear is definitely always there, and I think it will be
Yeah.
until, I don't know. I think part of me feels like if I get to a place where I'm no longer afraid, is it worth doing anymore? Do I need to
Yeah.
go and find
Ah.
something that makes me uncomfortable? And
Mhm.
so 2024 is about stepping out from behind fear and learning to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I love
Nice.
people and I love connecting with people. And I just wanted to do a podcast where I got to talk to people like you,
Mm.
people who are like me, like so many other people. We all have our unique talents and our unique personalities, but like a story to tell, maybe struggles that they've overcome somehow and they're here today and then they can inspire others. And I feel like the world needs more people who are in their corner,
Mm-hmm.
praising them, giving them encouragement. And it's I was a leader for 5 years with this organization, and I did this on, with my teams and things. And I'm really passionate about building people up and helping them realize their potential. And I
I
just
can
want to see
feel
people
it.
succeed. Good. That makes
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
happy and gives me goosies, because
Yeah.
that's what I feel my purpose is in life. Is I just want
Oh,
to help people realize that it's going to be okay. We
yeah.
like as bad as you think it is, it's going to be okay. I'm a living testament of that.
Yeah.
It can always get better,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a marathon, not a race.
Yes.
So wherever you're at in life, you can make changes. You can do the things that you've always wanted to do. But how am I supposed to tell people they can do that if I
Mm-hmm.
am too afraid to do that? So
Mm-hmm.
it's the podcast is me proving to myself that I believe the things that I tell others, because I do, absolutely, without question.
Yeah.
Um, and then hopefully in some way, 100 people may ever listen to this podcast in the history of all time. But if it helps those 100 people, even a small bit,
Mm-hmm.
it's worth every bit of effort put into it, right? Because what happens when we inspire
Yeah.
people is they go out and inspire others. And it's a ripple effect,
You've made me
right?
feel so loved.
Well,
Like
I
you're
I don't think I
so
did that.
loved.
I think you did that, right? Like I think you stepping into your uncomfortableness with making this picture happen, and then with those two dudes watching you throwing pebbles at a steel thing, and recording the part about your vulnerability, like you gave yourself love, and that just
Yeah.
radiated outwards and
Yeah.
totally drew me in. Like, just done. I was like a Jenn Lord fan, automatically want to talk to this person. And every year I have a podcast, you may have to be always my first guest in January.
Sign
Like,
me up.
yeah,
Sign me
this
up.
is just the thing. And it's interesting because I'm like, you're my Jennifer Aniston, which I don't know if you
Oh
get that
my
reference. Because Jennifer Aniston was Helen's first guest on her podcast
god.
and would
Yes.
often come
Yes.
on the first show of the season. So I'm like, she's going to be my Jennifer Aniston.
Oh,
So
I love
I
that.
don't know where this is going to go, but
Yeah.
I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep showing up, right?
That's
That's the thing.
amazing.
It's about consistency, and I'm not really focusing on the numbers if people are listening or
Yeah.
not. I just don't care. I'm putting it out there, giving my
Yeah.
best, and then hopefully getting to talk to people like you on the regular
Mm-hmm.
and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. If there's anything I've learned from like my time on social media is like just keep showing up. Even when you think like nothing's working, like for example, if you want to make a career out of like your socials of some sort, like for example that, like you gotta keep showing up even when you think it's not working.
absolutely. Consistency is key to
It
everything,
is, yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
One little takeaway before we sign off for the day. I
Mm-hmm.
watched a highlight reel story. There we go. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving away my age. I already told you I'm 42, so I'm not super like up on the lingo of social media. I'm really learning. I've immersed myself into it over the last little
Yeah.
while. But I think it was New Year's Day. and
Uh-huh.
you do this coffee throwing, which
Yes.
I just threw my pen. I'm not sure if you saw that, but
Yeah.
you do this coffee throwing
Mm-hmm. It's the
thing.
Nespresso toss. Yeah.
Yes. So, and there was something that happened in the background because just for I don't want to give it away for everybody, but I'm going to give it away for everybody. Jen
Yeah,
on
yeah,
her
yeah.
first try on January 1st flicks
Yes.
this Nespresso. Am I saying
Yeah.
Nespresso
Nespresso.
pod
Yeah.
from her hand 4 or 5 feet away, and it lands perfectly in the machine. And there's excitement and all of this stuff. And then I hear your mom. I'm pretty certain it's your mom. I feel like it was your mom
It
in the
was, yeah.
background say that this is a sign that things are like really going to look up for you this year, or something like that. And I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
mom
Yeah.
supports, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
fantastic. And I
Yeah.
found that really just inspiring. Probably, so shout out to your mom for
Yeah.
being super
Yeah.
positive. Hey,
Yeah.
also kudos for, like, if that's a sign, I think you have the talent, you have the skill, you have the personality to become super successful in anything that you want. So dream big, go live your wildest dreams. And if you need someone to, like, besides your partner, like, to talk to like ramp you up and like make you believe that you can absolutely do anything, I'm here to do that for you because
That is
I believe
amazing.
that.
I 100% feel that support from you.
Perfect.
$100%. Yeah.
I'm happy about that. All right,
Yeah.
Jen, thank you so much for joining and being my first guest. Um, this has
Thank
been
you
an
so
incredible
much for
experience.
having me. It was way less nerve-wracking than I thought it would be.
Oh, I'm so happy too, because I hope, like, my goal is to always just be chill and personable, and like,
Mm-hmm.
it's obviously we're going to be nervous, but at the same time, it's like we're just people. So safe space,
Yeah.
always be yourself, and we'll have a
Yeah.
good time.
Yeah.
So good luck on your future endeavors. I will be watching.
Thank you.
As anybody who's listening, I also hope that you follow and watch what Jen does next. I'm pretty certain it's going to be epic. Be safe in life. And
Yes.
until next time, thanks for joining
Yes.
Pod in My. All right, everyone. Thank you again for tuning in to this week's episode of Pod in My Noggin. It was a great episode. You can watch the video version of this on YouTube at author CK Sims, and you can head on over to Instagram or TikTok and follow me at author CK Sims as well. And you can check out my blog in my noggin at cksims.com. Until next time, go live your wildest dreams.